It began on a Tuesday night in Oak Ridge. The sky was clear, the stars bright. Parents tucked their children into bed with kisses and promises of tomorrow. By morning, 30 children were gone. Sam Harris woke to his phone ringing at 5:17 a.m. His sister Kate was crying so hard he could barely understand her. "Ethan is gone," she finally managed to say. "He's not in his bed. He's not in the house. Sam, my baby is gone." Sam sat up, instantly alert. 10 years as an Army Ranger had trained him to wake ready for action. "I'll be there in 10 minutes. Call the police if you haven't already." Sam dressed quickly, his mind racing. His nephew Ethan was 8 years old, a smart, careful boy who wouldn't wander off. Something was very wrong. When Sam arrived at his sister's house, police cars lined the street. Other parents stood on their lawns in pajamas and bathrobes, many crying. Officer Pete Williams, an old high school friend of Sam's, met him at the door. "It's not just Ethan," Pete said quietly. 29 other kids are missing from their beds. No signs of break-ins, no footprints, nothing on any security cameras. They just vanished. Inside, Kate sat on the couch, her husband Dan beside her. They looked up when Sam entered, hope flashing in their eyes before dying away. Sam sat across from them. "Tell me everything," he said. "We checked on him at 10 last night," Dan said. "He was asleep. This morning at 5, Kate went to wake him for his swim practice, and his bed was empty." Sam walked to Ethan's room. It was exactly as a young boy's room should be: space posters on the walls, toy cars on shelves, books about dinosaurs stacked on the nightstand. The bed was unmade, blankets pulled back as if Ethan had gotten up, but his slippers were still by the bed, his favorite stuffed bear still on the pillow. Sam examined the window. Locked from the inside. He checked the closet, under the bed, every possible hiding place. Nothing got by noon. The FBI arrived. By evening, the National Guard. The story was the same across Oak Ridge. Children gone without a trace. Sam stayed with Kate and Dan, using his military contacts to get information. On the second day, he learned it wasn't just Oak Ridge. Children had disappeared from towns across America. On the third day, reports came from other countries: England, Japan, Brazil, Russia, Egypt. Always the same pattern. Always children between 5 and 12 years old. On the fourth day, the total reached 317 missing children worldwide, and the pattern stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Sam joined the local search efforts, though in his heart he knew they wouldn't find the children in any woods or abandoned buildings. Something far stranger was happening. His years in combat had taught him to trust his instincts, and every instinct told him this was unlike anything humanity had faced before. On the sixth day, scientists from NASA held a press conference. They showed satellite images of unusual light patterns in the sky above each location where children had disappeared. The lights didn't match any known aircraft or natural phenomenon. "We're not ruling out the possibility of ... The NASA spokesman paused, clearly uncomfortable. ... of non-Earth involvement." The world erupted in panic, fear, and disbelief. Religious leaders called for prayer. Conspiracy theorists claimed government experiments. Parents of missing children simply demanded answers no one could give. On the morning of the 7th day, Sam was sitting at Kate's kitchen table, studying maps of the abduction sites, looking for patterns others might have missed. The TV played. Quietly in the background, just another expert offering just another theory. Then every screen in the house turned bright blue. The same happened on Sam's phone, on computers, on digital billboards across the world. A face appeared. At least it seemed to be a face, though not a human one. The head was elongated, the skin gray-green and textured like fine scales. Large. Black eyes blinked sideways. "People of Earth," the being spoke, its mouth moving strangely around the English words. "I am Ambassador Zal of the Draconid Imperium. We have been observing your world for many cycles." Sam stood slowly, moving closer to the screen. "We have collected specimens of your offspring for scientific and cultural preservation purposes. This is standard protocol for the Imperium when encountering developing species." Kate made a sound like she'd been punched. Dan put his arm around her shoulders. "The young ones will be well treated," the alien continued. "They will be studied, their biology and behaviors documented for our galactic archives. Some will be displayed in our living museums so that citizens of the Imperium can learn about your kind. Some will contribute to medical research that benefits all sentient life." Sam felt a cold rage building inside him, more intense than anything he'd experienced in battle. "We understand this may cause temporary distress, but assure you it is a great honor. Few species receive such attention from the Imperium. Further resistance or aggression would be futile given the technological gap between our civilizations. We will not communicate again on this matter. The collection is complete." The screens returned to normal. For a moment, the world was silent. Then, Kate screamed, a sound of pure maternal fury that seemed to echo mother's cries across the planet. Dan put his fist through the wall, and Sam Harris made a promise, speaking it aloud though no one was listening. "We're coming for you," he said quietly. "Every soldier, every ship, every weapon we have. You don't understand what you've done." Within an hour, Sam's phone rang. It was his commanding officer, Colonel Greg Benson. "Harris, your leave is canceled. Report to Andrews Air Force Base immediately." "Yes, sir. May I ask why?" "The President is activating everyone, Harris. Every branch, every reserve unit. The UN Security Council is meeting an emergency session. Russia, China, everyone's on board. We're going to need your special ops experience." "For what, sir?" There was a pause. "The mission is still being determined. But off the record, we're going to find a way to get to wherever these bastards are, and we're bringing our kids home." Sam looked at Kate, saw the hope breaking through her grief. "I'm on my way, sir." As Sam packed his gear, reports came in from around the world. Military units mobilizing everywhere. Scientists being gathered. In Moscow, a general announced that their experimental space propulsion system would be made available to a joint mission. In Beijing, quantum computing resources were redirected to analyze the alien transmission. In London, the Prime Minister declared, "We will cross the stars themselves if we must." Sam kissed his sister goodbye. "I will find Ethan," he promised. "We will bring him home." As he drove away, Sam knew the aliens had made a fundamental mistake. They had studied humans, perhaps for years, but had missed the most important thing about them. Humans might fight each other endlessly over land, resources, and ideas, but threaten their children. And suddenly, those differences meant nothing. The Draconids had just united Earth in a way nothing else could. They thought they had collected specimens. In reality, they had awakened a planet of protectors who would now stop at nothing to save their young. The aliens didn't know it yet, but they had started a war they could not win. Sam Harris arrived at Andrews Air Force Base to find it transformed into a global command center. Military personnel from dozens of countries filled the halls. Engineers huddled over computers. Generals spoke in multiple languages at once. The world was mobilizing faster than anyone thought possible. Colonel Benson met Sam at the entrance to a large conference room. "Good to see you, Harris. We need your experience with the task force." Inside the room, Sam saw a diverse group of military specialists. Colonel Benson introduced them quickly. "Captain Lisa Wright, Naval Intelligence. Major Doug Chun, Cyber Warfare. Sergeant Frank Miller, Marine Special Forces. Sam nodded to each of them. They looked tired but determined. "We're the planning team for Operation Homecoming," Benson explained. "You're joining us because you have personal connection to the abductions. We need someone who feels this in their gut." "I appreciate that, sir," Sam said. "My nephew Ethan is one of the missing children." Captain Wright's eyes softened slightly. "We all have someone we're fighting for, Lieutenant. My daughter's best friend was taken." Sam sat down as a woman in civilian clothes entered the room. She had short gray hair and moved with quick energy. "This is Dr. Olivia Parker," Benson said. "Former NASA astrobiologist, leading our science team." Dr. Parker wasted no time. She tapped a tablet, and images appeared on the wall screen. The Draconids left traces. Every abduction site shows the same electromagnetic signature. "We're tracking it back to its source. How long will that take?" Sam asked. "Under normal circumstances, years," Dr. Parker said. "But circumstances aren't normal. Every scientist on Earth is working on this. The Russians have shared classified space detection systems. The Chinese have redirected their entire quantum computing network to the problem." "What about weapons?" Sergeant Miller asked. "If we find these lizards, how do we fight them?" Major Chun pulled up another screen. "Every nation is contributing military tech. Some of it has never been used. Some of it wasn't supposed to exist." He showed designs for advanced missiles, energy weapons, and combat systems. "The problem isn't fighting," Captain Wright said. "It's getting there. We need ships that can travel faster than anything we've built before." Colonel Benson nodded. "That's our current focus. The UN Security Council has authorized the use of experimental propulsion systems. We're converting existing spacecraft and building new ones." Sam looked at the plans. Even with his military background, some of the technology seemed impossible. "How long before we're ready to launch?" 3 weeks, Benson said. "Maybe 4. The children could be dead by then," Sam said. Thinking of Ethan. Dr. Parker shook her head. "I don't think so. The Draconids called our children specimens for study and display. They want them alive." "That doesn't make it better," Sam said. "No," Dr. Parker agreed. "But it gives us time." The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. Sam trained with the strike team daily. They learned to use new weapons, studied the limited information available about Draconid biology, and prepared for space combat. Though they came from different countries and branches of service, they bonded quickly. Their shared mission erased old rivalries. Meanwhile, the world transformed. Former enemy nations shared military secrets. Scientists worked around the clock. Factory workers built spacecraft components with no breaks. Parents of missing children gave emotional speeches that united people across all borders. Sam called Kate every night. Some days she could barely speak through her tears. Other days her voice was strong with hope. "Bring him home," she always said before hanging up. 20-5 days after the abductions, Sam stood with his team on the runway, watching workers load equipment into massive transport planes. Their destination was a launch facility in Kazakhstan, where the main fleet was assembling. "We're really doing this," Captain Wright said, standing beside Sam. "Humans are going to war in space." "Doesn't seem possible," Sam agreed. 5 years ago, Russia and America were pointing missiles at each other, Wright said. "Now we're flying together to fight aliens." "Nothing unites like a common enemy," Major Chun said, joining them, "especially when they take our kids." The flight to Kazakhstan took 14 hours. When they landed, Sam saw the fleet for the first time. Dozens of spacecraft stood ready, converted space station modules, military satellites repurposed as weapons platforms, and experimental vessels. built in the last 3 weeks. The largest ship, nearly 300 feet long, dominated the center of the facility. "That's ours," Colonel Benson said. The Retribution. The ship had begun as an International Space Station expansion module. Now it bristled with weapons and communication arrays. Inside, crews were installing the experimental drive system that would take them farther and faster than humans had ever traveled. General Ellen Martinez, the newly appointed commander of Earth's unified Space Force, addressed the assembled troops that evening. "You represent every nation, every military branch, every part of humanity," she said. "Your mission is simple, but nearly impossible. Find the Draconid Imperium. Recover our children. Return them home." She paused, looking across the faces of soldiers, scientists, and crew members. "Some of you won't come back. We all know that. But those children, all 317 of them, are counting on you. Their parents are counting on you. Earth is counting on you." The launch was scheduled for dawn. Sam spent the night in the barracks, unable to sleep. He looked at a photo of Ethan on his phone, grinning with a missing front tooth, holding up a fish he'd caught last summer. Sam had taught him to fish. He would teach him many more things. He promised silently at dawn. The teams boarded their ships. The Retribution hummed with activity as final preparations were made. Sam was assigned to the main strike team, along with Captain Wright, Major Chun, Sergeant Miller, and Dr. Parker. They would be the ones to enter Draconid facilities and find the children, assuming they made it that far. "Pre-launch checks complete," came the announcement over the ship's systems. "All personnel secure for takeoff in 30 minutes. Sam strapped into his seat in the crew area. Around him, soldiers and scientists did the same. Some prayed quietly. Others checked equipment one last time. Dr. Parker reviewed alien biology notes on her tablet. Captain Wright stared straight ahead, her face calm but determined. General Martinez's voice came through the speakers. "This is the most important mission in human history. We go not as Americans or Russians or Chinese, but as Earthlings, as parents, as protectors. The Draconids believe their technology makes them untouchable. They believe we cannot reach them. They believe we will accept the loss of our children." The engines began to power up, a deep vibration running through the ship. "They are wrong," Martinez continued. "Today we show them how wrong they are." The countdown began. Sam closed his eyes briefly, picturing Ethan's face. "I'm coming," he whispered with a roar that shook the ground for miles. The first ships lifted off. One by one, Earth's fleet rose into the morning sky, carrying humanity's fury to the stars. The Retribution was last to launch, its massive engines pushing against Earth's gravity. As they broke through the atmosphere into the blackness of space, Sam looked out a viewport at the blue planet below. Somewhere down there, Kate was watching the sky. Somewhere up ahead, Ethan was waiting. The Draconids had made a terrible mistake. They had taken human children. Now every soldier on Earth was coming for them. 2 weeks into their journey, the reality of space travel set in for everyone aboard the Retribution. The excitement of launch had faded into the monotony of life in a metal container hurtling through the void. The ship was crowded with soldiers and scientists from a dozen countries. Privacy was non-existent. Food was bland. Sleep was difficult in the constant mechanical hum. Sam Harris spent most of his time studying everything they knew about the Draconids, which wasn't much. He memorized the few images they had from the broadcast, learning to read the alien facial expressions as best he could. He studied their language patterns from audio analysis of the message. He wanted to understand the enemy. "You're obsessed," Captain Wright said, finding Sam in the ship's small library area late one night. Most of the crew was asleep. I need to be prepared, Sam replied, not looking up from his tablet. Wright sat across from him. We all do. But you won't help Ethan if you're exhausted when we arrive. Sam finally looked at her. Wright's usual professional expression had softened. You have someone waiting too, don't you? He asked. My daughter, Wright said. Lily. She's safe at home, but her best friend Zoe was taken. They're like sisters. Lily made me promise to bring Zoe back. We will, Sam said with more confidence. Then he felt. Their conversation was interrupted by alarms blaring throughout the ship. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors. All personnel to emergency stations. General Martinez's voice came over the speakers. This is not a drill. Sam and Wright ran to the command center. Major Chun was already there, working frantically at a control panel. Sergeant Miller arrived seconds later, still pulling on his uniform jacket. What's happening? Sam asked. Drive system failure, Chun explained without looking up. The experimental engines are overheating. If they blow, the ship goes with them. Dr. Parker rushed in, her hair disheveled from sleep. Where's the problem? She asked, moving to a screen showing the ship's schematics. Junction box in section 4, Chun said, temperatures rising fast. We need to manually override, but the automatic systems are locked. General Martinez turned to the team. We need someone to spacewalk to the external panel and reset the systems. Engineering team estimates we have 15 minutes before critical failure. Captain Wright stepped forward. I have the most EVA experience. I'll go, Martinez nodded. Take Harris as backup. 5 minutes later, Sam and Wright were in spacesuits, standing in the airlock. Through the small window, Sam could see the stars, countless pinpoints of light against perfect blackness. Somewhere out there were the Draconids and the children. Remember, stay tethered at all times, Wright said as they checked each other's suits. Follow my lead. Don't touch anything unless I tell you to. The airlock opened, and the void welcomed them. Sam had trained for spacewalks, but had never actually done one. The sensation was both terrifying and beautiful. He was suspended in nothingness, connected to the ship only by a thin cable. Wright moved with confidence, using small bursts from her suit's thrusters to guide herself along the ship's hull. Sam followed, careful to match her movements. There, Wright pointed to a panel near one of the massive engine housings. Even through their insulated suits, Sam could feel the heat radiating from it. They reached the panel, and Wright began working to open it. Her gloved hands moved with practiced precision despite the bulky spacesuit. The locking mechanism is fused, she said after a minute of struggle. The heat warped the metal. Inside the ship, Dr. Parker's voice came through their helmet cones. You have 7 minutes before critical failure. Sam moved closer. Let me try something. He took a tool from Wright's belt, a simple pry bar, and wedged it into the seam of the panel. With strength born from years of military training, he pushed until his muscles screamed. The panel popped open with a force that nearly sent him spinning away from the ship. Only Wright's quick grab at his tether kept him close. Nice work, she said. Now let me get to those circuits. She reached into the open panel. Inside was a complex array of wiring and circuit boards, now exposed to the vacuum of space. Wright worked quickly, following instructions from Major Chun through the com. 4 minutes, Dr. Parker's voice warned. Almost there, Wright replied, her voice tense but controlled. The primary relay is completely fried. I need to reroute through the secondary systems. That's never been tested in actual space conditions. Chun objected. No choice, Wright said as she pulled wires and reconnected them in a new configuration. Harris, hand me the bypass coupler. Sam passed her the tool from her belt. As Wright made the final connections, the panel suddenly sparked. A surge of electricity ran through the circuits. Wright jerked back, crying out, "Right!" Sam grabbed her as she went limp. Her suit's telemetry showed her heart rate spiking, then stabilizing. 2 minutes to critical failure, Parker announced, her voice tight with fear. Sam had to make a decision. With Wright unconscious, he was on his own. He looked at the open panel, trying to remember everything from the pre-mission briefings about the ship's systems. "Chun," he called through the comm. "Talk me through this." Chun's voice was steady. "You need to connect the blue relay to the secondary port, then reset the breaker switch." Sam did as instructed, his hands steady despite the pressure. "Done. Now the red emergency cutoff needs to be reactivated." Sam found the switch and flipped it. Nothing happened. "It's not working," he reported. 30 seconds, Parker counted down. Inside the ship, people were preparing for the worst. Some prayed. Some held on to each other. Some stared at pictures of the children they had come to save. Sam took a deep breath. Then he did something that wasn't in any manual. He disconnected his tether and pushed himself deeper into the panel housing, reaching past the external controls to the core systems. Inside, "Harris, what are you doing?" General Martinez demanded. "Something crazy," Sam replied. He found what he was looking for, the manual reset node, reachable only if someone was willing to risk their life. Sam pressed it hard. The ship shuddered. The lights on the panel went dark, then came back on in a different pattern. The heat began to dissipate. "Temperature dropping," Shun reported, disbelief in his voice. "System rebooting." "It's working." Sam pulled himself out of the panel. Without his tether, he had to carefully maneuver back to where Wright was floating, still unconscious, but alive according to her suit's readings. He reconnected his tether and secured hers, which had come loose in the chaos. "Bringing you both in," Miller said through the comm as he activated the automatic retrieval system. Later, in the medical bay, Wright regained consciousness. Her right arm was bandaged, where the electrical surge had burned through her suit. "Did we fix it?" she asked, her voice weak. "We did," Sam confirmed. "The engines are stable now." Wright studied his face. "You did something stupid, didn't you?" Sam shrugged. "It worked." General Martinez visited them an hour later. "Good work, both of you," she said. "The engineers say we would have lost the ship if you hadn't reset that system." "How does this affect the mission?" Sam asked. "We've lost 3 days of travel time," Martinez said, "and we'll need to run at reduced power for safety. That adds another week to our journey." Sam thought of Ethan and the other children, waiting longer for rescue. But he nodded. Better slow than dead in space. That night, after being cleared by medical, Sam returned to his bunk. The near disaster had changed the mood on the ship. The crew now understood the real dangers they faced. This wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a survival challenge, unlike anything humans had attempted before. As he tried to sleep, Sam pictured Ethan's face. "Still coming," he whispered. "Just a little delayed." 3 days later, as the ship continued its journey, at reduced speed, the sensors detected something unexpected. "Unknown vessel approaching," announced the tactical officer. "Not Earth design." The crew rushed to battle stations. Sam joined his team on the bridge. On the main screen, they watched as a sleek craft appeared, moving gracefully through space. It was clearly alien, its design unlike anything built by human hands. "Draconid?" Sam asked. Dr. Parker studied the readings. "Similar technology signature, but not a match for what we saw during the abductions. Could be another species." General Martinez stood, her face set with determination. "First contact, people. Let's not start a war with the wrong aliens." But as the ship drew closer, the alien vessel suddenly changed course, accelerating away from them. "They're running," Major Chun observed. Martinez made a quick decision. They might lead us to the Draconids. Follow them, but keep your distance. And prepare a boarding team, just in case. Sam checked his weapon as the retribution changed. Course, pursuing the mysterious alien ship into the unknown depths of space. The chase lasted 3 days. The alien ship stayed just ahead of the retribution, leading them deeper into unfamiliar space. Each time Earth's ship gained ground, the alien vessel would make a sudden course change or accelerate briefly, maintaining distance. They're toying with us, Sergeant Miller said, as the bridge crew watched the tactical display. Or leading us into a trap, Captain Wright added. Her arm was still bandaged from the spacewalk incident, but she had refused to stay in. Medical Sam studied the alien ship's movement pattern. Or they're taking us somewhere specific. General Martinez considered this. Dr. Parker, any progress on communications? Dr. Parker shook her head. We've tried all frequencies and formats. Either they can't understand us, or they're choosing not to respond. New contact, called the sensor officer suddenly. Much larger vessel ahead. On the main screen, a massive ship appeared. Unlike the smaller craft they had been chasing, this one was clearly built for war. Its hull bristled with what looked like weapon ports, and its design had none of the elegance of the scout ship. Draconid? Martinez asked. Matching energy signature from the abduction sites, Parker confirmed. That's them. The scout ship they had been following accelerated toward the larger vessel, which opened what appeared to be a docking bay. They're going home, Major Chun observed. Martinez made a quick decision. Prepare the boarding team. We may not get another chance like this. Within minutes, Sam and his team were in the launch bay, checking weapons and equipment. The boarding team consisted of Sam, Wright, Miller, Chun, and Dr. Parker, along with 6 additional soldiers from various Earth nations. The plan is simple, Sam told the team. We launch in the stealth shuttle, use the larger ship as cover to approach the Draconid vessel, and dock at a secondary port away from their main sensors. Once aboard, we split into 2 teams, Wright continued. Team 1 searches for the children. Team 2 secures our exit and gathers intelligence. Remember, we're dealing with an unknown species in their territory, Dr. Parker added. Their atmosphere, gravity, and even their concept of ship design may be completely foreign to us. The team boarded the stealth shuttle, a small craft designed for covert approaches. Its black hull absorbed rather than reflected sensor scans, making it nearly invisible at a distance. Launch in 30 seconds, the pilot announced. Sam checked his weapon one final time, then looked around at his teammates. They were strangers a month ago, from countries that had sometimes been enemies. Now they were his family, united by a single purpose. For the children, he said simply. For the children, they echoed. The shuttle launched silently, moving on a careful trajectory to keep the larger Draconid ship between them and the scout vessel's docking area. As they approached, they could better appreciate the enormous size of the alien ship, at least 5 times larger than the Retribution. Target area located, the pilot reported. Secondary maintenance port on the underside. Minimal security detected. The shuttle moved into position and extended a docking tube that attached to what appeared to be an external airlock. The team, suited up in full tactical gear with enclosed helmets. They couldn't be sure the atmosphere inside would be breathable for humans. Pressure equalized, reported the shuttle systems. Ready for boarding. Sam took point, leading the way through the docking tube into the alien ship. The airlock opened surprisingly easily, suggesting the Draconids had never expected anyone to attempt boarding their vessels. Inside, they found corridors lit with a greenish light that cast everything in an eerie glow. The air, tested by Parker's equipment, proved breathable, but had a strange metallic smell. We can remove the full helmets, but keep oxygen masks ready, Parker advised. The team adjusted their gear accordingly. Team 2, secure this area, Wright ordered. Miller, Chun, and 3 soldiers stayed behind as Wright. Sam, Parker, and the remaining 3 soldiers moved deeper into the ship. They encountered no resistance at first. The corridors seemed deserted. Parker consulted a small device that translated the alien markings on the walls. This section appears to be maintenance or storage, she whispered. We need to find the central areas where they would keep specimens. The word made Sam's jaw clench. These aliens saw human children as nothing more than lab samples. The thought fueled his determination. They moved carefully through the ship, hiding twice when Draconid crew members passed nearby. The aliens were taller than humans, with the same scaled skin and elongated heads they had seen in the broadcast. They moved with a strange, fluid grace that seemed almost reptilian. After 20 minutes of careful navigation, Parker's translator picked up something promising. This way, she pointed to a corridor branching left. The markings reference biological containment or something similar. The corridor led to a large set of doors. Unlike the others they had passed, these had security measures. A panel that clearly required some form of authorization. Chun, we need you, Wright called softly into her com. Little busy, came Chun's tense reply. We've been spotted. Currently. Evading pursuit. Sam exchanged glances with Wright. We're on our own. Parker examined the panel. I might be able to bypass this, but it will take time. Which we don't have, Wright said. Alternative entry point? Sam studied the surrounding area and noticed a maintenance hatch near the floor. There, he pointed. Service access, maybe? Wright nodded. Worth a try. The hatch opened with surprising ease. Sam went first, crawling through a narrow tunnel. That seemed designed for smaller maintenance drones rather than the tall Draconids. The others followed, moving as quietly as possible. The tunnel ended at a grate overlooking a vast chamber. What Sam saw made his blood run cold. The room contained hundreds of transparent pods arranged in neat rows. Inside each pod was a child, human children, floating in some kind of clear fluid, eyes closed as if sleeping. Monitors displayed vital signs and other data. Draconid scientists moved between the pods, taking readings and making adjustments. We found them, Sam whispered, his voice tight with emotion. He scanned the pods, searching for Ethan. There must be more than the 317 that were taken from Earth, Parker observed. Some of these children appear to be from other worlds. Focus, Wright reminded them. We need a plan to get them out. Sam continued scanning until he spotted a familiar face. Ethan, he breathed. His nephew was in a pod near the center of the room, looking peaceful, but unnaturally still dot at that moment. Their coms crackled with Miller's urgent voice. Team 1, our position is compromised. Multiple hostiles converging on your location. We need immediate extraction. As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The Draconid scientists below looked up in confusion, then hurried from the room. They know we're here, Wright said. Sam made a quick decision. New plan. We free as many children as we can, starting with those nearest the exit points. Parker, figure out how to open those pods and wake the kids. Right, call the retribution for emergency extraction. And you? Wright asked. Sam checked his weapon. I'm going to get Ethan. Without waiting for a response, Sam kicked out the grate and dropped into the room below. The others followed, spreading out to examine the pods. Parker quickly deciphered. The pod controls. It's actually simple. This releases the fluid, this opens the pod, and this ends the sedation. Start opening them, Sam ordered as he ran toward Ethan's pod. Wright was on her comb. Retribution, We need immediate support. We found the children, but have been detected. Requesting combat team backup and medical evacuation. As Sam reached Ethan's pod, the main doors to the chamber slid open. A group of draconids entered, led by one wearing elaborate decorations that suggested high rank. They stopped, clearly shocked to find humans in their secure facility. The lead draconid spoke, its voice translated by Parker's device. "Impossible. How did your primitive species reach us?" Sam stood protectively in front of Ethan's pod, his weapon raised. "You took our children," he said simply. "Did you really think we wouldn't come?" For a moment, no one moved. Humans and draconids faced each other across the chamber of pods. The lead draconid tilted its head, studying Sam with something like curiosity. "Fascinating," it said through Parker's translation device. "Your species traveled interstellar distances with your primitive technology. All for these offspring?" "Each one of them matters to us," Sam replied, not lowering his weapon. "Every child is precious." The draconid made a gesture that might have been dismissal. "They are specimens. Your emotional attachment is noted, but irrelevant. Leave now, and we may spare your lives." "Not without the children," Wright said. Stepping forward to stand beside Sam Dot, the draconid leader hissed something to its guards. They raised weapons of their own, sleek devices that hummed with energy. "Last warning," the leader said. "This facility is one of many. These specimens are property of the Imperium. Your resistance is futile and illogical." Sam glanced at Ethan's pod, seeing his nephew's peaceful face. Then he looked back at the draconid. "You made a mistake when you chose Earth. You studied our planet, but you didn't understand us. Humans will cross any distance, face any danger, to protect their children." At that moment, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared louder. "The Retribution is attacking," Wright said, checking her comm device. "General Martinez is creating a diversion." The draconid guards looked to their leader for instructions. In that moment of distraction, Sam fired his weapon. The energy pulse hit the lead draconid square in the chest, sending it crumpling to the floor. The battle erupted instantly. Right, and the soldiers engaged the remaining guards, while Parker worked frantically to open pods. The first children were beginning to wake, confused and frightened. "Get them to the extraction point," Sam ordered as he fought his way to Ethan's pod. He reached the controls and followed Parker's instructions, draining the fluid and opening the clear shell. Ethan lay still for a heartbeat, then coughed and opened his eyes. "Uncle Sam?" he said weakly. Sam lifted his nephew gently. "I'm here, buddy. I promised I'd come for you." Ethan clung to him. "I knew you would." Across the chamber, Wright and the soldiers were holding their position, but more draconids were arriving. Parker had managed to open nearly 50 pods, and awake children were being guided toward the exit by 2 of the soldiers. "Sam, we can't get them all," Wright called. "There are too many, and more guards are coming." Sam made the hardest decision of his life. Set the charges. "We'll take the ones we freed and come back for the others." Wright nodded grimly. The team had brought explosive devices as a last resort. They began placing them strategically around the chamber while continuing to defend their position. "Extraction team is 2 minutes out," Miller reported through the comm. "They've secured a path to the main hangar bay." Sam carried Ethan toward the exit, guiding other children as he went. The boy was still weak from the stasis, but alert enough to help calm the younger children. "It's okay," he told a crying girl. "My uncle is a soldier. He came to save us." The ship rocked with another explosion as the Retribution continued its attack. Lights flickered, and some of the draconid systems went offline. They reached the corridor where Miller and Shun were holding position. "This way," Shun directed them toward the hangar. "The charges are set," Wright reported, joining them after placing the last explosive. 5 minutes. They moved as quickly as possible, the soldiers carrying children too weak to walk. The Draconids pursued them, but seemed reluctant to use their weapons with the children present in the hangar bay. They found chaos, the retributions. Assault team had secured the area, but Draconid reinforcements were pressing from multiple directions. A human transport shuttle waited, its ramp down. "Get aboard," ordered Colonel Benson, who had led the assault team personally. "We've got maybe 3 minutes before they overwhelm us." Sam handed Ethan to a medic on the shuttle, then turned to go back. Wright grabbed his arm. "Where are you going?" "There are still hundreds of children in those pods," Sam said. "I can't." "Leave them." Wright's face was pained. "The charges will go off in 4 minutes. "There's no time." "Then I'll set new ones. We can destroy this whole ship." "And yourself with it? What about Ethan?" "He needs you to come home." Sam looked back at the shuttle, where his nephew sat wrapped in a blanket, watching him with trusting eyes. Then he looked down the corridor, where countless children still slept in pods, waiting for rescue. Colonel Benson joined them. "Harris, we have the ship's data. Coordinates for all their bases, security codes, everything. We can come back with the full fleet, save them all." Another explosion rocked the hangar. Part of the ceiling collapsed, blocking one of the corridors. 2 minutes to detonation, Wright reminded him. "We have to go now." Sam made his choice. He ran back to the shuttle and knelt beside Ethan. "We're going home, buddy." The shuttle lifted off as the last humans boarded. Through the viewport, Sam watched the Draconid ship grow smaller. Then a series of explosions blossomed across its hull as their charges detonated. The massive ship listed to one side, crippled, but not destroyed. "They'll warn the others," Dr. Parker said quietly. "Let them," General Martinez replied from the command chair. "Let them tell every species in the galaxy what happens when you take human children." The journey home took less time. With the Draconid navigational data, they plotted a more direct course. The children recovered quickly under Dr. Parker's care. Each day, more of them remembered who they were and where they came from. Ethan stayed, close to Sam. At night, he would sometimes wake with nightmares, but they grew less frequent. He told Sam what he remembered: the strange lights, the feeling of floating, the occasional glimpses of scaled faces studying him. "Were you scared?" Sam asked him once. Ethan thought about it. "At first. But then I remembered what you told me last summer when we went camping. About how if I got lost, you would always find me, no matter what." When they reached Earth, they were welcomed as heroes. The children were reunited with their families in emotional ceremonies broadcast worldwide. Kate cried for an hour when she held Ethan again, thanking Sam through her tears. The data they had stolen proved invaluable. Earth now had the locations of every Draconid base, the specifications of their technology, and most importantly, their weaknesses. The unified Earth fleet grew stronger, incorporating alien technology with human ingenuity. 6 months later, Sam stood in a briefing room at the newly established Space Defense Headquarters. Maps of Draconid space filled the screens. "General," Martinez addressed the assembled officers, "today we launch Operation Reclamation. Our target is this facility." She pointed to a location deep in Draconid territory. "Intelligence confirms it holds over 500 children from Earth and other worlds. This time, we're bringing them all home." Sam looked at the other faces. In the room, Wright, Chun, Miller, and dozens more veterans of the first mission, all volunteering for the second. "The Draconids sent us a message when they took our children," Martinez continued. "Today we answer. We will not stop until every child is returned. We will not rest until the Imperium understands that the people of Earth protect their own." That night, Sam called Ethan to say goodbye before deployment. The boy was recovering well, back in school and playing soccer again. "Will you bring back more kids like me?" Ethan asked. "That's the plan," Sam told him. "Good," Ethan said simply. "No kid should be in those pods." After they hung up, Sam looked out his window at the stars. The Draconids had believed humans were primitive, easy prey. They had seen Earth as just another world to harvest specimens from. They had not understood the fundamental truth that every spacefaring race would soon learn. You do not take human children. Not if you want your civilization to survive.